Click the link in the description for your free Amsoil catalog. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, the house racing team of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Well, good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. I have a robust lineup of Vintage Snowmobile entertainment on tap for you tonight. We have guests waiting for us in the green room. We're going to get to them in just a moment. But before we do, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. Let me know where you're viewing this from, and let me know whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to the first-time viewers, we thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a good time with us tonight and decide to come here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We simulcast to 8 different places. Wherever you're viewing this, just come on back here next Thursday night, 9 p.m. We'll have a very similar kind of experience here waiting for you. And to our regular viewers who are here week after week after week, you guys are the ones who make this possible, and we thank you so very, very much for that. We really appreciate it. Let's check some comments here, and we'll bring our guests on. Let's see, we've got our good friend David from Alaska Railroad saying, "Good evening, Mike and podcast friends." Cool deal. Now, David says, "I'm trying hard to send you some photos I took at the track and sleds in the museum in Eagle River, Wisconsin." Very cool. Well, let's touch base on that tomorrow and get that figured out. And I thank you so much for thinking about that and for wanting to send me some photos. I cannot wait to see them. Stacy and Art Fosler, regular viewers from Platkill, New York. Thank you so much. They're saying we look good and sound good. Rick and Katrina Dumont, regular viewers loud and clear in Albion, Maine. Brian Van Heverbeek, regular viewer from Mountain Bridges. I think he's in Ontario, Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Tim Wagner from Middleburg, Pennsylvania says, "Great show." And Richard Brazo, regular viewer from Coleman, Wisconsin, says, "Hello." Very cool. Well, let's not keep our guests waiting any longer. Let's bring our friends on here. We've got Josh Leviker and Rob Hilditch. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I'm doing good, Mike. And yourself?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Cool. It's good to have everyone here. So we've got our friend Josh Leviker on tonight, and I have to say it's a pleasure to bring him on because he and I had been messaging all last winter about a project sled that he had going on, and I'm going to tease you a little bit and not tell you what it is. It'll be well worth the wait. A little later in the program, we're going to take a very deep dive on all of the nuances of that project because he and I had a chance to meet over the summer at the VSCA show in Old Forge, New York. Now, as Josh is also involved in some vintage snowmobile shows. Josh, can you tell us a little bit about some of the shows you've recently put on and what's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, this year we did the second annual Northern New York Vintage Snowmobile Show in Swap. It was the old Boonville show. Got to know Ed Stab very well over the years. And last year we worked closely together. The Boonville show went to Turin and really took off. It was we had over 200 last year, and this year really promoted it, and it really was a great show with vendors, swaps. We had 219 in this past year's show registered, and it's Labor Day weekend again next year, and look to hopefully have the same number, if not more.
Wonderful. Mark your calendars, folks. If you're within driving range of Turin, New York, next Labor Day weekend. And is that the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, or is it the whole weekend? Or
it's a Saturday. I believe that's September 2nd. Don't quote me on the date, but it's Labor Day weekend, and
sure.
It's about an hour and a half north of Syracuse, New York. So
wonderful. Yeah, mark it on your calendar, friends. Any questions about that, Rob? Or feel free to.
That's a good turnout for a show.
Yeah, we had 219 registered in the show. Probably another 100 on display, and we must have had 50 vendors in the corral there for the swap area. I mean, it was packed. We must have had over 500 spectators that came through. We had I believe 4 Canadians came: New Hampshire, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maine. It was a big show.
Yeah. From every direction, it sounds like.
Now, every year you have a special class or something?
We do. So there's 26 classes, and then we have People's Choice, Best in Show, and then the Fireman Choice, because it's a co-host between the Turin Ridge Riders, which is I'm our vice president of, and the firemen. So, and I'm our village mayor, so we kind of share the grounds with the firemen. So it's a good venue. It's a good area. And it's good for the area. It's good for the community. It's a good fundraiser.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Now, behind the scenes, I think a week or two ago, Josh shared some images with me from this event, and I put them into a little montage with some music under it. Let's take a look. Very cool. Yeah, in case you're just joining us, we're just looking at some footage from a show that Josh Leviker had organized over Labor Day weekend out in Turin, New York. Yeah.
And those pictures there, Mike, Joe Clark, he had a couple of the Team A Bold sleds.
Oh, yeah.
People's Choice, and then that boa ski. He was a gentleman from, he was a Canadian, made the trip across the border. He won Best in Show with that boa ski that was in one of those photos. And
That was a nice boa ski.
I've never seen one in person, only in magazines.
Same here. That must have been one of the last years they were doing it with that color scheme and a modern looking body like that.
I think so. That's got to be like a 73 or 74. And then he had that red boa ski behind it, which was an early 70. But yeah, he had more than just those two sleds. He had some nice iron there.
Most people have more than one collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
How about that guy with the Cowie? Is that a limited production?
The cow, which
500 Cowie, it looked like, motorcycle with
yeah. He's from Central New York, and that was actually a factory kit. The track kit. That was called if you look on the bottom left, it's called the Snow Job. That was a factory bolt-on kit.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was one of a kind built.
It was a factory kit, probably not many of them. It didn't pivot or anything, which I could see why it didn't take off, because you went in a straight line, I think.
Yeah, overriding that ski a lot, I bet, huh?
Yep.
Was that a twin track or a wide track, or what was going on underneath it?
That was a twin track.
Twin,
and
yeah.
It had, I want to say, 2 sprockets on it for the drivetrain. It was very interesting, but it didn't pivot. It was more, a lot of pressure up front to steer.
Yeah. Seems like that would put a lot of torque on those forks too. That's probably one of the first things to fail, I would imagine.
I would imagine, but it was there was a lot of rare iron that was there. It was,
it would be neat to see that go by on the snow, though. I will give it that.
Absolutely.
That would be double, triple, and quadruple takes, I think, to see that go by.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. So let's see. We are on item number 3. We're going to do some quick announcements, and then we're going to look at some more footage from the Turin show and some more footage that we've done with Josh over at the VSCA show in Old Forge this summer. But let's do some announcements real quick. We've got an AMSOIL promotion to talk about. I'm going to pop the graphic on the screen. And is it going on the screen? It's
up there, Mike.
All right, cool. I guess it was a delay on my side. But yeah, if you wanted to talk to us about this, Rob.
Anybody who wants to become a preferred customer, you can get the best price available by an AMSOIL. You save 25% on all the products. You order $100 worth, they ship it right to your own house. And usually if you order $100, they give you a $5 gift card towards your next order or to your next registration, or buy a t-shirt or whatever you want. But until October 18th, they're offering you a $10 certificate. Just a quick little promotion, trying to get more people to order this time of year. So if you want to know the best possible way to buy AMSOIL, get a hold of Mike. You can email him right through this account, and by becoming a preferred customer, you order $100 worth, you get free shipping on your birthday. They send you an extra $5 for order $100. You get the $5, and helps covers the cost of the membership, or you use it towards buying an AMSOIL t-shirt or something, or your next order. So right now they're giving you $10 instead of a $5 gift card until October 18th.
Yeah, that's an incredible value. And on top of that, you're also, as a preferred customer, you're getting the deepest possible discounts that someone can possibly get from AMSOIL. So it's an unbelievable value. There are links in the description. Just click and you can sign up for a preferred customer program and take advantage of those discounts right away, as well as that double your 5, if you will, a promotion. I don't know if that's what they're calling it, but that's what I'm calling it. But yeah, it's a great value for sure. So let's see. We are on item number 4. That Turin show that we've been talking about that Josh put on over Labor Day weekend. TV crews showed up. I think it was WWNY showed up, and they did a piece on it. Let me find that here. It's going to take me just a moment here to cue it up.
Earlier today, winter weather enthusiasts made their way to Turin for the village's second Vintage Snowmobile Festival. But as 7 News reporter Chad Charette tells us, despite the shared love, everyone there has a unique story of their own.
In early September, snowmobiles probably aren't the first thing that come to mind. But in Turin, they're the talk of the town. On Saturday, enthusiasts flocked to the area looking to buy, sell, or just show off their antique sleds for the village's second annual Vintage Snowmobile Show.
Everybody here is an addiction. It is a passion too. Most of the people here come out because they love these machines from years gone by, and it reminds them of simpler times and probably much better times too, where you could actually go out and have some fun and not have a worry in the world.
The event comes as a joint effort between the Turin Ridge Riders Snowmobile Club and the Turin Volunteer Fire Department, who cooked up a feast for attendees.
Whatever we make from the event will be split between both organizations.
Some of the sleds here have quite a story behind them. Take Garrett Coe's 68 Arctic Cat Panther. It started out as spare parts in a bushel basket that he found in Cortland, New York. And look at it now.
The guy says, well, you ain't gonna restore it or put it together, you're just gonna sabotage. I says, no, me and my father will put it together. Well, I've never seen that guy since, but if I did, I'd say, hey, remember that sled? Because it's right there.
For Carmen Russo, one vintage snowmobile is far more than a hobby. His work on this 1972 Polaris 530 SS Charger is the main way he honors his late father, who taught him to ride back when he was 7 years old.
When he passed away, I wanted to find the same sled that he taught me on, and it was like a 4-year adventure to find the sled. Finally found one in Wyoming.
Whether they're from Carthage, Canada, or Connecticut, just about everyone in Turin Saturday shared a love of snowmobiles, but they were all set apart by their unique stories. Chad Charette, 7 News.
You want me to walk right in front?
Cool deal. So yeah, in case you're just joining us, we're just looking at a news piece about the Turin, New York show, Vintage Snowmobile Show that Josh Leviker, pardon me, put on over Labor Day weekend. And it's coming up again next Labor Day weekend. In case people are just joining us, Josh, do you want to give a shameless plug for that event?
Yeah, again, it's I believe the date is September 2nd, and we'll start advertising. Ed and I will start advertising probably in April, and it'll be the same thing. There's plenty of real estate for overnight camping if you want to come Friday with your campers. There's areas to plug in. There's water on site if you want to hook up to water. Again, a lot of real estate, a lot of motels close by. A lot of our local supporters, the Edge Motel, they have 110 rooms, so their availability is pretty good that time of year. As you get into the winter season, obviously they fill up, but a lot of restaurants nearby. The ski slope is right down the road. You can see it from there. You got Old Forge, half-hour away. Tug Hill is right there at our doorsteps. There's a lot of activities. It's a good show, and it's going to grow. I can see that happening.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now that clip we were just looking at, that news clip, Rob, did anything catch your eye in there?
Oh, there was one machine there. It looked like it had a cover where you closed it over top of the roof. What was that?
That I don't know what that was. I thought that was a rescue sled of some sort. You're talking the white one.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It looked like maybe it had a heater inside or something too. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It was in the Forgotten Wonder class. We have one of those classes, and it wasn't. It looked factory, but it wasn't. But I don't know. I never got a chance to really go over and look at that sled.
That news guy did a really good article for you.
Yeah.
You should get him to redo it the week before the show to get people to come out.
Yeah, he was there for probably 2 hours. He did a lot of footage to kind of get into a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was impressed too. A lot of times news people come to these shows and a lot of times they don't completely grasp how much the memories are such a big part of why people go to these shows, attend these shows, buy these older sleds. And they really try to capture that in that news piece. I was impressed with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. And again, we're only 10 minutes north of Boonville, where you had the Adirondack Cup, and Herb Yancey was there. He was set right up next to my father-in-law and a couple of our good friends. So he was there. He had the moto ski set up next to us, and then Ron Hall, he made the trip up from Syracuse. So you had Herb and Ron together.
Team Avold was well represented.
Yeah, so he was there, and then you had Joe Clark there with the Avold sleds, and that, if you look in the right side of that picture, that was Ron Hall's 250 motor in that sled. That's the one where he won 17 straight races and earned the #1 gold bid. So that was his actual factory race motor.
Wow.
On site on that #4 Porter Hood EXT.
I would have liked to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty neat that was his actual motor where he won 17 straight races with it. And he won the Boonville Adirondack Cup in '72, and Herb won it in '78 with the mailbox cap.
Very cool.
With the first IFS suspension for the cap. Well, I say first, but in '77.5 they had the IFS when they were kind of chasing Polaris.
Sure.
Keep
sure.
up
Yeah.
with the
Boonville was a big deal back then. Yeah, for sure. And well, you know, this is kind of a stupid question, but what's going on for these days as far as racing in Boonville? Are they still doing racing there?
They still do it. They've had, you know, because of COVID, obviously, you know, and but I think 10 years ago they brought it back, but they've had some weather. You know, we've had the warm spells in January, February, where you have the warm spells followed by rain, so they've had to cancel the event sometimes. They do get the racers, but I think as you see it across the country, it's the spectators. It's not what it used to be. You could see pictures of Boonville with 3,000-4,000 people, you know, lining the snowbanks.
Yeah.
But they're trying, you know.
Yeah.
But they do have a good group of people down there, and they do bring the racers. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, we have the same problems up here with our vintage racers. Get a lot of racers come up, but not the crowd.
Yeah. But I think it'll be coming around. The vintage or anything antique or vintage is really starting to, you know, I myself, we have the modern muscle class, which is the 80s, you know. That's what I started to drive, and that's becoming a class. That was the second biggest class in the national show this past year, and that was the second biggest class here at the Turin show. That had over 30 sleds in it.
Wow.
So that's the era where people were their first sleds, and those parts are readily available now for the XCRs and the Indy 400s and mid 80s, late 80s LT grays. So those are becoming a hot item.
Nice. Another thing I noticed in that piece was that interview with Garrett Coe. I had a chance to meet him and interview him at the Old Forge event, the VSCA event in Old Forge this summer, and I'm looking forward to bringing those interviews on the podcast in the coming months. So do look forward to those. I got a great interview with him. He brought some amazing sleds and got a great interview with him.
You see the one with the basket one they rebuilt, the Articat?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, him and his father have some good sleds.
And didn't he have a Budweiser themed sled?
I believe he did.
Yeah,
he did.
I've got an interview with that, but I talked to so many people that weekend that it all becomes a blur, you know. But now we've got some comments coming in. Let me find my spot here, and I think Roger Cormier from Winnipeg, Manitoba says, "Nice to see the podcast again. It's actually snowing right now in Winnipeg, Manitoba today, so it's coming, folks. It's coming, folks." So Roger, when you finally are able to do some yard riding, when you've got enough snow for some yard riding, if you get the vintage sleds out, we'd love it if you could run some video. Just hold your camera horizontal like this for a wide shot. We would love to see some drive-bys in the yard if you've got any kind of vintage sleds. If you do that sort of thing, we would love to see it. Now, David from Alaska Railroad says hello to Josh and Rob.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Now we've also got someone on Facebook saying, sorry we haven't attended last week. Was in Canada picking up our race engine and then straight to New Hampshire for Epping. We were exhausted. I totally understand, but we're glad to have you here this week, and hopefully you were able to catch last week's episode after the fact. Because the cool thing is, once we record it, it's not going anywhere. It's there for posterity for everyone to enjoy.
So what kind of engine did he pick it up, and where did they pick it up?
Yeah, excellent. Good question, Rob. Yeah, if you're listening to that, please fill us in. We would love to hear.
Is it for oval or drag racing?
Yeah, for sure. Fill us in with the whole lowdown on that.
My daughter's second snowmobile, I bought it. I traded a guy a quart of oil for it. And
Really?
2 years later, he came back and said, "You put that thing all, it was in a basket." He said, "You put that all together?" I said, "Yeah."
That's amazing. That's amazing. Cool. And then we've got someone else, a Facebook user, saying awesome show to Mike and crew. Very much. Thank you very much for that. David from Alaska Railroad says, very nice photos. He said those TXs got him boiling. Cool. So that must have been that photo montage from I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. From the Turin show. Thank you. I kept thinking Truman, and I knew that wasn't right, but then I would just get stuck on that. But anyway, Mark Gasso says hello to Mike and Rob, and to Josh as well. And then Roger Cormier says excellent display of vintage sleds at the Turin show. Awesome. Thank you for showing. And yeah, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. And we'll check back a little later and see if we've got any word on the sled that those people were picking up. So let's see. We are on item number 5. So now we're going to look at some sleds that Josh was showing me at the Old Ford show in New York. Old Ford New York show, the VSCA National Show over the summer. He was showing me some of his sleds there. Just takes me a moment to cue this up here. This is it right here. Let's take a look. It's taking a minute to load, but it's coming. Stand back, everyone. Oh, it says, I lied. It says the device is having trouble loading the video. All right, you gotta love technology. Let me try it again here. See if we.
This is your father-in-law's sled, you said?
So this is my father-in-law's 74 Tiger. It's a 295 track tune.
Yep.
Him, his brother, and a good friend, they all bought 74 Tigers in the end of 73. Right local where we live. Actually,
oh yeah, Rennie's.
Herb Yancey raced for them in the same era.
Really?
Early 70s.
That's amazing.
Right out of Denmark.
Wow.
That's what gave Herb down there, sitting in the chair down there.
Yeah.
First.
That's how we got started.
That's how we got started.
Wow.
They needed someone to drive the big sleds.
Yeah.
So we took the display board sign. He has the original bank loan paperwork,
wow.
the bill of sale, the original registration, the original warranty card.
Wow.
And the pictures of him riding it through the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's a 295 free air. The 295s, again, are hard to find pistons because they were in the 295 free air class, made for racing.
Yep.
And it's a consumer race model, if you will.
Yep.
Kind of a spin-off of the 290 EXT motor in 72. So they made a 295 consumer, and they called this the track tune. They made a 340, 295 track tune, a 400 track tune, and a 440. The track tune models have the diamond seat, so the 295s and 400 will have the diamond seat.
Yep.
The skid is a little shaped a little differently, and they also came with the race tether.
Oh yeah, sure.
Similar to the EXT. The EXT has a round kill switch. This is a triangular kill switch.
Yeah.
But if you see, those are his insurance stickers.
Yeah.
From 74.
That is cool.
Still on.
And
the
I remember
sled.
seeing these too.
That's original. That's original sticker.
That's cool.
And we just painted the skis. A lot of polishing and cleaning. So this his son blew this up, I believe, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And it sat in his garage until the late 90s. He actually sold it to Jamie Burgoyes, a local oval racer.
All right.
Jamie went to race it, found how hard the pistons were to find. That's before whole social media, so it sat in his barn.
Yeah.
We got into vintage racing thanks to a good friend of ours, Skip Albanese. And Dave, my father-in-law's down there with Herb. He followed me to the shows, sees the Tigers, and I wish I could find mine. I'm good friends with Jamie. Jamie says he still has it. I bought it from Jamie with the original registration card that my father-in-law signed over to Jamie, and Jamie never signed it. So a good friend of mine, July 3rd, we went and got it, and me and Skip Albanese, a good friend of mine, got me really into this. I can blame him for that. We redid it and gave it to my father-in-law for his birthday in September.
Wow.
We snuck it in the garage, put a sheet over it, had him outside, opened the door, and I gave him the registration card. And pulled it off.
Did it blow his mind when he saw that?
Mine, it did. And he sat on it, and he goes, "You can't find pistons for it." And of course, I had it running before we took it over.
Right.
I could pull it. He pulled half a pole, fired right up, and I, so it was his original new item, first new item he pretty much bought.
Yeah.
And brother who since passed, late 73.
Yeah.
So to have it, 48 years old.
That's amazing.
And it's registered, insured, and we trail ride it to camp.
Really?
Yeah, we trail ride it. That's my twister there, and it's registered.
Yeah, current.
Current.
Yeah.
All of our stuff.
That's in nice shape too.
Yep, that's my 76 trail twister. The only year they made a fan for a 340 was in 76.
Yeah.
We trail ride it. My wife drives that, lightweight for her.
I remember those too.
Yep. And
I'm gonna come around in front of it.
I can open the hook back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
Excuse me.
if ever been made?
So 340s, what's hard, it's not super hard to find, but these rubber grommets around the plugs are hard to find. Back in the day, you change a plug, who would have thought you'd want to save these?
Yeah.
The air boxes for a 340 fan are harder to find because the 340s have a longer snout on the air box. The 440s had a bigger carb, so the snout was narrower, shorter. So I actually bought 2 air boxes before I learned the snouts for the 340s were longer.
Oh, wow, trial and error.
It was a 1 year only.
Sure.
Because they only made a 340, and this is on the Merck registry. It's the only one in New York.
Really?
It's
Wow.
on the Merck registry.
That's cool.
It's got,
Yeah, no, it was Fox.
it's got 4,200 miles on it.
Yeah.
Like I
Sweet.
said, it's not even here.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Beautiful.
I spent a lot of time on it.
It's a nice piece.
Yeah, for sure.
It just wasn't done.
Everything we have, we drive.
That's cool.
That was a little screamer.
Yeah, next time you have any of these on the snow, please take some video.
Yeah, no, we are.
We'll
And
share
I
it
had
on
my
the podcast.
cross-country cat here, but we pulled that out last night just to save on some loading.
Yeah.
And we do. And I got a nice cat cutter that I redid.
Yeah.
We put our kids in it and drive
Nice.
around. I got a cheetah. So.
Sweet.
But this one kind of started it, and then it
That's what got the ball rolling.
evolved from there.
That is cool. Yeah, it's nice to finally see this in person because I know we've been messaging on this for a long
Sure.
time.
Those are. I've had a lot of compliments, but again, I got to thank the people that helped the parts, and Jason Palmer really he come to the end on that. Finished the assembly for me.
Nice.
I was just pretty much parts, steps on which to go, and his craftsman work really came to play on that.
Yeah.
So,
Cool
I know
deal.
he's a big Yamaha guy, and he's never done a cat, but he said, I'll finish that for you.
Looks great.
So,
well, cool.
Again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're going to wind down this segment, but we will catch you on the other side for the award ceremony, and that is at noon. What time have we got now?
Yes, sir. 10 after?
A little time, but yeah. Well, thanks for viewing, everyone.
Cool. Yeah, some beautiful sleds, Josh. Cool
Yeah, it was
deal.
a good show. There's 460-ish at the
Yeah.
show, and it was a lot of nice iron and get to meet the people you talk to online and on the phone. So it was a good show and good weather. That's the key. It was hot Saturday for sure, but
Yeah.
it was good weather. Ed put
Yeah.
a good show together.
And it paid off that they set those tents up. That helped to keep if you're under the tent, it wasn't quite as hot.
It paid off, and it was well organized. The tents were labeled, and I helped judge that Friday evening. And Ed and Susie, they had everything labeled for each class, and they actually had it in descending order where you judged outside first, and then you went inside, because you judged in the evening if you were losing daylight. And judging was finished Saturday morning as well, but it was very well organized.
Sure. Did you have something, Rob? Were you about to ask a question? Or
Oh, I like the story, like when people really use their snowmobiles, just don't have it on display like in a museum. That's good that the guy really takes it out riding.
Yeah,
That's where they're meant to be.
Yep, and I think it gets her exercise basically. It keeps everything moving, and we drive. His camp, or my father-in-law's camp, is probably 10, 12 miles up, 10, 12 miles back. It feels a lot longer than that, but
yeah,
it's fun.
Good to get a good solid ride in.
Yeah, yep.
That's cool. You get a chance to really experience them. Cool deal. We've got some comments coming in. Let's take a look here. Yes, Chris Humble says the Turin show was great. And my good friend Virgil Shaw, Virgil's been on our Muscle Car podcast several times. He said that's a nice looking sled and a cool story. He says, very cool. Glad to have you on the Snowmobile podcast, Virgil. This is great. Cool. And David from Alaska Railroad says a nice twister. Stacy and Art Fosler says they definitely have to go to the show this year. Absolutely, because they live not too far away. I know that they had hoped to get to the old Ford show, but there's something had come up and they weren't able to, because I was really looking forward to meeting them at that show, but just something had come up and they couldn't make it. But very cool. Very cool. So we are about to, unless we had any more on what we just looked at. Did anybody have any more on what we just looked at before we shift gears? Or?
But what was interesting with my father-in-law's sled, his one of his good friends and his brother, they all went down at the local cat dealer, which there was many of them. Whoever had a lawn mowing shop had a cat dealership back in the day. And his brother got the 340. His friend got the 440. He got the 295, not knowing. I mean, they made, I believe, 3,000 295s, but not knowing later in life the 295s, they were, I forget what stock, whether they were stock D or whatever for racing, but they were a very good competitive stock sled. and he blew it up once, rebuilt it, and then he blew it up. His son blew it up, just out back driving, late 80s, early 90s, and it kind of sat, and Jamie got it, and again, couldn't find pistons, and a friend of ours down the street got me more into vintage sledding, and went to the Boonville show for a couple of years, and my father-in-law came with me. He started seeing the old LT Grays and was talking about a sled, and I know Jamie pretty good, so I got a hold of him. He said, I got it, and if you want it back, and it's yours, So went down the day before July, 4th of July, picked it up, and as we said on the camera there, we gave it to him for his birthday on mid-September. So there was, had the motor redone by Northern Crank Shop, John Rowan. They did a great job, but in shipping it out there, only half the motor showed up. Half was missing in shipping. The package showed up, within a package. It was ripped open, so it was chasing down parts and things of that nature. And we got we got her together. It turned out good. Pretty much, it was crunch time.
Sure. That must have blew his mind to see that finished.
He did. He didn't know what I was giving him, which was a registration card, sure. And he was, probably 60, 65, 66 then. And it was 8 o'clock at night, so it's dark out, and then pulled the sheet off it. And, it did. It blew his mind, and looked it over, and he did pick out one thing in the front right corner of the cowl there. The fiberglass is cracked, and I don't know what happened when Jamie picked it up or when we picked it up. He's like, that was not like that when I sold that to Jamie. He knew that little chip in the cowl there was not there when he sold it. So
looking for a flaw.
But no, it was I think it's got 2,100 miles on it. So and again, he just found the bank paperwork to the local bank, put a down payment on it, and I think it was $1,300 back then, brand new. So the warranty paperwork had a recall on the track. Those cleats were bonded on the 295s and 400. They were molded in the rubber. They weren't riveted. So there was a recall on that. He had all that, and it's a very nice original piece.
That's cool. That's cool. So even cooler still is we're looking at the menu here, items number 6 and 7. We're about to look at the sled that Josh and I had been emailing back and forth over all last winter. He was sending me images of the project, the progress of the project, if you will. And then I finally had a chance to meet him this summer in Old Forge, and we took a very deep dive on this EXT project. So let me get this queued up here, and we're about to take a deep dive on this EXT. Let me be sure I'm picking the right video here. This is it right here.
All right, we are back at the VSCA National Vintage Snowmobile Show, Old Forge, New York, and we're meeting up with our good friend Josh Leviker. How you doing? Good. And he's going to talk up his sleds, and I'm going to get close to you for good audio.
Sure. So this is a 1973 Arctic Cat EXT 340. Production numbers, there was 300 of them. They made 301 of the 440 and 200 of these 650s. This sled was raced out of Pennsylvania, the PSSA circuit, and that was the sled as I got it. Jerry Widener is the gentleman. He's still alive. I have spoken to him. I have sent him some pictures of it throughout the restoration process, and he's been a lot of good history behind it.
Yeah.
That was the chassis. This was a year ago. This was in June of last year.
That's what it looked like a year ago.
A year ago, after I collected all the parts.
That has come a long way, hasn't
it? He raced it from 74 up through 76.
Wow.
And he parked it outside. And he also raced a rup. And this was a NOS tunnel found. And what's interesting with these, they are lightweight. The rib tunnels, they would tear.
Okay.
Which is why Cat would give the upgraded, they're not recalled, but the remanufactured tunnel, the steel tunnel, the smooth tunnel.
Yep.
So finding the rib tunnels are very difficult to find. This was kind of the shape it was in. It has this motor came out of Thief River Falls. Originally, when this sled was new, it was a hill climb sled.
Really?
And people heard it was for sale in 74, and it went to the highest bidder.
Wow.
He happened to be the highest bidder.
He was the bidder. Wow.
So it had a super mod kit on it, and it has the molded, bonded, pleated track. It's not riveted.
Okay.
They're molded into the rubber.
Yeah.
And they're aluminum, lightweight, and very rare to find. 1 year, oddball, length, pitch, very hard to find, impossible to find. And here's some of the progress pictures.
Yeah.
Original EXT skid. They are different. The aluminum bulkhead. And what's interesting with this sled is you'll see it has the gear reduction unit on it, and they were taken off. They were recalled by CAT 1 week after these sleds were released.
Really?
They did not have belt compound in '73 until later into the '74 era.
Yep.
So there's a gear reduction unit, and the motor plate is bigger, and it's housed to receive the gear reduction.
Okay, yes.
So when those gear reductions were removed, they would cut the motor plate, slide the engine over, but you can see the motor sits dead center in the chassis.
Yes.
And if you will, you can see the gear reduction.
Yeah.
It goes to the clutch.
That is cool.
More. The big medallion tack, those are very hard to find.
Yeah.
There's a shot of the motor when it was done.
Yeah.
The gear reduction.
Sure.
Very, very odd to see.
Yeah.
And the round shaft clutch is also in '73 only for this sled. They made other round shaft clutches, but these were recalled by CAT as well.
Yeah.
So having this assembly is rare in itself, and rare to have the, the medallion tachometer.
Yeah.
The Kelsey Hayes brake system, that was not standard from the factory, but if you raced ovals,
They were upgrading with it?
They were
Yeah.
upgrading
It was common
with
for them to upgrade.
So that's what was on the sled. That's what we retained.
Sure. It's a period upgrade, so to speak.
The EXT handlebar pads.
Yeah.
They're for the EXT only. My father-in-law's LT grade next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Similar handlebar pad to the eye, but if you put them in your hand, it weighs half of the weight.
Oh, really?
Yep.
With racing in mind?
Yep.
Wow, look at that.
So what also is rare when you have the gear reduction on the motor's centered, which makes these section pipes very hard to find as well because they have to tuck at a tight sweeping angle to stay in the chassis.
Yeah.
Where with the super mod kit, the motor would get pushed over.
You more
have the
room.
big sweep fish pipes.
Yeah.
So the twin pipes to marry up to the gear reduction unit are both a rarity because obviously when the gear reduction was removed, the super mod kit came out. These pipes, when you're racing, any new product to go faster, you threw the old product away.
Yeah.
These are all numbers matching,
Wow.
Artie Cat parts. The original parts I could replate. I did get them replated and saved. And Herb Yancey's a local where I live.
Yeah.
He was 10 minutes from me.
Wow.
We've gotten more better friends over the years
Yeah.
with the vintage racing. Good friends of my family.
Sure.
So he came over when it was done. I invited him over and I said, I want your critiquing of it.
Yeah.
And he said it's as it was out of the box.
Wow. So get his stamp of approval.
Yep. And having
Very
one
cool.
there, to have that from Herb, that's
Yeah, that's huge.
And I have the
the manual.
The manuals.
Yeah.
So if anyone had questions, the part numbers are listed by CAT.
Yeah.
And you can look at the part numbers. What's interesting on this, here's the operator's manual. This sled only weighs 285 pounds.
Whoa, that's amazing.
It is all aluminum.
Wow.
It weighs nothing. The 650s, I believe, weighed 315.
315. That's amazing. Even that's.
So you have an aluminum bulkhead with the aluminum tunnel, and the motor assembly itself must weigh 60 to 80 pounds.
Yeah.
So you take the fuel out of it too. So take 85 pounds of drivetrain and motor out of it. The remaining part of the sled is only 200 pounds.
Wow. What a lightweight sled, huh?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And we had a comment come in. Let's see. Gary Woodring, said the sled looks great in person. Great build. Now, is that somebody you know, Josh? Is that someone that was at Old Forge to see that in person?
The name rings a bell. I'm drawing a blank right now, and I do apologize, but I talk to a lot on the interweb there, and then you meet a lot of people at the shows, and it rings a bell.
So how'd you find all the history about this sled and the weight and all that?
So it goes back to my father-in-law's 74 Tiger. Again, we have the local snowmobile club here, and we got the Tiger together and went to the show, Boonville show, and a good friend of mine now, Stan, he says, "Hey, I got a sled you might be you'd be interested in just having." Said, okay, what is it? Go up the road, and he had just put it up in the rafters of the garage, and it was middle of summer. It's 120 up there. I see the hood, and I said, I know what that is. I mean, if everything follows suit, I know what that sled is. And said, yeah, that's an EXT. He says, yes, it is. I said, all right, we carry everything down, boxes upon boxes, motor. And he says, gentleman out of, Pennsylvania had it. So, and oddly enough, the gentleman used to race ovals, whatnot. Anyway, I put it on, I don't know, one of the rare Artie Cat sites, and picture of it. Anyone knows this, knows the name of this individual because his name's on the hood, Jerry Widener or Wiedner. I don't know how to pronounce it. I forget, but I had a message and said, good friends of my dad, he lives right down the street. So this gentleman's father gave me Jerry's number, and I call him up, and he answered, and I said, I got your old sled. Yeah. I think he's mid-70s now, maybe a little later than mid-70s. And I recently talked to him right around the Turin show, see if he could make the drive up. And coincidentally, one of our members of our club lives in Pennsylvania. He's right down the street from Jerry. Jerry raced a Formula 2 and a RUP. And the gentleman who has a camp up here and is a member of our club, he's a big RUP guy. So he knew Jerry. So, I had that tie there too. But Jerry raced, and that sled was a hill climb sled. The motor was done by someone in the factory out in Thief River Falls. There's some extreme porting in it, and it was out for bid basically. And everyone went to the hill climb, and he was the highest bidder, got it, did a few things, not a lot for oval racing. And that was his oval race sled with the Formula 2 and the RUP. He said the Formula 2 it was okay. Cable steering obviously is what hindered that, the handling. The CXT was always up in top 3, He said, but the RUP is what brought the money. The RUP is what paid for the weekend. He won't let that go. He still has that sled. The Formula 2, he said it didn't handle, it didn't corner, so he got rid of that. And those are, they say 200 were produced. I hear 125 were actually produced, but the Formula 2s are pretty rare.
Yeah.
Lucas Bristol's the only one that I know of that I have seen on the internet and seen in person. He took third with it at the unrestored class at the national show. But yeah, I would occasionally call Jerry, ask him for questions, pick his brain. But I don't know, maybe we'll see in the later pictures. That sled did not, when I acquired it, did not have the rib tunnel. I had the smooth tunnel because the rib tunnels would tear. They were so lightweight. It was a miscommunication from what Herb says. The stamping was supposed to be thicker, and it came out thinner, and that's why they tore, and they kind of put a smooth steel tunnel on them because the bulkheads would tear as well.
Sure. Now, has Jerry seen the finished project sled that you've done?
He has. He saw the progression as it went along, and then it was done. I sent him, a dozen photos of it, and he was, shocked by it because it was a nice, obviously when you're racing, it's not all about show, but it was all there. I mean, for the most part, it was there. So
sure. So we've got some more comments coming in. We've got Roger Cormier says, beautiful EXT restoration, excellent attention to detail, and a nice backstory too. Bravo. Yes. Cool deal. And then our good friend Virgil Shaw says, Josh has some real barn finds. He also says he likes the fact that he knows the history on these sleds. Very cool. Very cool. So if you're enjoying this about this EXT and all of this, we're only halfway through the deep dive. We've got some more for you. So let me cue up the second half of the deep dive on that. And let's take a look here. Oh, this is hanging a minute here to load. I don't dare click it twice. There we go.
I'm going to do a walk around of this.
And also on this, that's also a rarity, is these clicker shocks.
Oh, wow, so you have some adjustability there. Yeah,
73, yep, firm, normal, and soft, and the cat part number.
Yeah.
And I will say these came from Herb himself.
That's amazing.
These were when he raced in his era. These were one of his race sleds off his EXTs.
That's amazing.
So I don't know if it came off one of his Team A Bolt sleds or not, but those were, that's 73 EXT,
From Herb.
From Herb.
That's
I can say
amazing.
that today. Had them re-chromed, a lot of polishing.
That's amazing.
Also, too, beyond the belt guard,
Yes.
they call it another guard, if you will. It goes over the shaft. Those were taken off as well. I believe maybe for some belt dust so it wouldn't get into the carbs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this is a 340 with significant porting in it. So
Yep.
the gentleman that raced it, he never blew the motor up, and this motor was built by the Arctic shop out in Thief River Falls.
Yep.
There's some very interesting porting inside this motor.
Really?
The heads are shaved down. His name is Dremel on the back side of the heads.
Wow.
I don't know if they went through tech back in the day, they could identify that. But there's very unique porting. Ports were opened up on this, and this is a running driving machine.
Wow. That is really
Starts
impressive.
up, ran on the stand, and I will drive it on the snow this winter around the house.
That is wonderful. I'd like to get some video of that when you
Sure.
do.
Yeah, this winter, and if you can get a picture of the track underneath, you can tell it's a molded track.
Yeah.
It's not riveted. The ice picks are through it,
Yeah.
but they're molded into the rubber.
That is cool.
So it's
It's nice to finally see this in person too, Josh, because I know we've been messaging back and forth all winter with the kind of the chronology of this project, and to see this, in this state is absolutely amazing.
it's a good-looking sled for 73. It's a very sharp-looking sled in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's black, it's chrome, lightweight. It's, in my eyes, it's all show and all go as well. It's a
It delivers in all categories.
the clutch and gauge is around 7,000 on this, and
It's ready to go when that happens.
it does. It winds right up, and nothing like a set of twin pipes on it in the screen. But it was a passion. It was a dream 7 years ago-ish, and then a solid 5.
Yeah.
I had it for probably a year and a half, 2 years, sitting in the garage, and then you acquire one part, and you start looking, and you acquire many more parts, and then you got to buy a whole lot.
Sure.
10 parts to get the 3 you want.
Yeah.
So, but which is good. I conversed with a lot of people here, and that are building 73s. We've exchanged information, and same thing as I built this, I would converse with people like Herb and others, because the part manual is archaic, back from 73.
Yep.
And there's pictures out there of 73s, but what's right, what's not right.
Yeah.
And this is a.
And you've got someone who lives near you who was there at the time, who's
Can
knowledgeable.
verify that.
Yeah.
And it's
so you can make sure that it's correct. And
like these J hooks here, if you will.
Yes.
If I go around the stirrups, they were from the original piece.
Wow.
A lot of people, they can't find them. All they are is a bolt that's bent, but these have the part numbers on the inside.
Wow.
The Mikuni fuel pumps mounted vertical, and those are 40 Mikunis on there, and they have a 510 main jet in them.
Wow. Is it possible to open the hood? Or?
It's a tight fit though.
Okay, that's all right.
To open there.
Sure, it's all good.
Plus with the wind, it'll go.
Oh yeah, I didn't think. Yeah, we don't want that.
What's interesting too.
I didn't think of that.
What's interesting too is in the parts manual, Cat really got specific on their details, which drove me nuts. The throttle lever, you come down, and the hand throttle lever is a 109/510, and you see it's specific for a 340.
Yep.
And the 440 and 650s are a different part number.
Yeah.
The 340 has a different throw to it.
Okay. Yeah.
You would think a 74 LT grade throttle lever would be the same. Black, plastic.
Sure.
Who would have thought the engineering was that specific?
Wow.
Because if you can't zoom in, you can zoom in on the part number.
So it's almost like a different cam ratio or something. Yeah.
The part number's right there, and 109/510.
Oh. So that matches what you have in the book.
That's the detail.
That is cool.
That's the detail that's in the sled. I didn't obtain another throttle lever and try and grind it, file it to make it fit.
You want one with the number, with the right number.
And on the display, it got windy today, but I also have the old.
Oh wow! I remember seeing those back in the day.
I took it off today because it's been windy out, but.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Robert Palmer.
Oh yeah, I know Robert.
He was generous enough. He was generous enough to.
He's a serious cat guy.
Yes, he is. He got some of the nicest stuff, clothing, memorabilia.
He's got the biggest collection of clothing I know of. I can't think of any collection bigger than that.
No one else.
I can't imagine.
That man lives and breathes.
He does. He does.
But this is everything. And I want to thank a lot of people. I'll say their names: Tim Lynn, Dave Shark, Matt Lynn. They were a lot of late night phone calls, text messages, messenger, and procuring parts from them. Where some people say I have them, but I won't let them go. Someday I'll build this. They were generous enough to see my passion in this, and saw that I was going to see it through, and were able to help me with questions and parts.
Yeah.
And it was very good. The last year was to get here was a long road. It came fast. Yeah. And I also want to thank Jason Palmer. These are
his sleds too,
right here. He's actually the gentleman over here.
With the dolly?
With the dolly.
Okay, yeah.
You can see him there. He was the one that finished the assembly on this sled.
Oh, here we go. Skip Estes made a comment. He said this EXT he hopes gets the best of show.
So I appreciate that. There's a lot of competition. I think there's 460 sleds here. This was the biggest class. He restored race, 71 to 75. It was the biggest class. think close pushing 40 sleds, maybe more.
Yeah.
There's some nice pieces here, but this is every part number, every piece.
Yeah.
Mostly original, hand worked, redone. There's no repop stuff on this. This is 100%.
The detail is down to the granular level.
You know, it's that gas tank you saw in the picture.
Yes.
That is it.
Wow.
That is it. That old rusty tin
You
can
polish
cut
that
in
up?
half. You know,
Wow.
this is an original hood. I mean, it's and Brown's Metal Mods, right in Lions Falls,
Yeah.
right near Turn, 5 minutes from Turn. They do a fabulous job, and they did the paint work on this, the paint and body.
Wow.
Phenomenal guys down there.
Get a look at that. Yeah, beautiful.
Yep, skis are 73 only. With the skis on the 73s, they're very similar to a Z ski, but the saddles on a Z will narrow up and come up for the narrow cigar shocks, if you will. Where the 73s, the spindle stayed wide all the way through, and they were a 1 year. Everything on this sled is a 1 year, one make.
Wow.
There's nothing else.
So it's a real challenge to find parts and the things you need.
And then to get into the, as you saw with the throttle assembly, they were specific not only for the 73 EXT, but engine.
The 340, yeah.
That's how tight they narrowed that down. And I didn't know that at the beginning of it. And once you get so far in depth, you got to commit and go the full.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we were talking a minute ago about Robert Palmer. I think his ears must have been burning because he's viewing. He says, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Our mutual friend, Robert Palmer. How you doing, Robert?
And it is sold to the guy that to the guy that put it together.
Yes.
So, but again, I can't thank all the people, that again, the conversations, the late night messaging, parts, this, that, the other, and that helps see this through. If anybody has a question that's redoing one or wants pictures, comparables, feel free. I'm on the sites.
Yeah. So you're happy to be a resource to people who are doing similar projects?
I'm not the expert by any means, but I have something that
you've been through a lot with this.
I've been through, and
you probably answer a few questions.
I probably learned the hard way.
Sure.
Yeah. But that's how we all learn.
It's true.
So
cool deal.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're a cat lover, that tonight is the night for you for sure. It's cool too. We were referencing Herb Yancey. For those who aren't aware, he's easily probably one of the top racers of the East from back in the day, and that he lives just a few miles from you and had input on this and raced a similar sled. Just so many things about this add up to just an incredible situation there.
So how did you do in the prize?
What's that?
What place did you get at the show?
That was the biggest class. Scoring everything, I came in 5th in that class. That was the toughest class. I think there was 45, mid 40s, upper 40s. But that class had Dean Bedgar's 72 Blizzard, which won that class and was the national show winner. He had that Blizzard with the triple on it, and that was a phenomenal sled. And then there was an Alouette Villian, same thing. I mean, it was of 460 sleds and a lot of nice. You think you have a nice sled and you put them next to another 30, and I mean, you're looking down.
Was brutal.
Yeah, you're looking down to the nit and gritty. And again, I was a judge there, and I judged with Jeff Maurer that evening, and it was, I mean, you're looking for a bubble in the decal. I mean, you're looking for, you make your short list of the top 5 if you can get there, and then you go back out and find a little scratch here, a little nick. I mean, it was a lot of tough competition.
Yeah, for sure. And
you did a great job on that machine. Oh,
yeah, that was the only 73 there at the show. And only, other than Hank Briscoe's, that's the only 73 I know that's in New York. Hank since passed, his son has it, but that's the only 73 I've seen in New York. Sure. What's interesting with that is it has a gear reduction, which is even makes that machine very rare. As Cat recalled those gear reductions right out of the box. Yeah. And when I got the box with the motor disassembled in the crate, I knew what that was. And again, find parts, do everything, and I had the motor plate, but it was cut because he took the gear reduction off for racing, and I had to get him another motor plate that had the holes for the gear reduction, and then the pipes, and it was. Sure. You get one piece, you got to find the other 5 to go with it.
Yeah, for sure. And at the show, I did manage to catch an interview with Dean and have a deep dive on that sled as well. Not as deep as the dive we just took on yours, but so at some point in the coming season, we will have a look at that sled.
Yeah,
but,
that was the crash.
Yeah, that was a great sled too. Yeah, I was rooting for you, to be honest, but it was a toss up. It was a great sled. He had an amazing example there.
He did. What does hurt mine a little bit is I have an original track.
Sure.
And that's the aluminum bonded track. And it's an involute drive, which is kind of unheard of in the early 70s. So it's not driven. The drivetrain, the sprockets don't drive off the cleats. It's an involute drive. And the pitch is different. The length of the track is different. The cleats are molded in the rubber. And of course, from racing, they would tear out, where mine is actually probably a 7, 8 out of 10 if you were to grade it, but it's an original piece, and you don't even see them anywhere because they were just raced and they would fall apart. The cleats would tear through, and this one survived. And that's but no one repops them. That's
sure.
There is, unless you find a new old stock, and I haven't seen any.
Yeah, good luck.
Nobody
with that.
has. So, and with that, the EXT skids are different from an LT gray skid because of the length and everything like that. So it's a real McCoy. It's everything goes with it. I mean, you could take the easy route and get a repop cleated track from an LT gray and put that skid in there, but then it wouldn't be an EXT.
Sure.
It's 100%.
Sure. Now we've got a comment that's come in. David from Alaska Railroad says those clicker shocks are amazing. Never knew they had those back in those years, and how we learn new things all the time. And that is definitely true. Well, cool. So we were about at that time where we wrap up the program. I've got one other quick thing to do, though, before we do. My good friend Jeff Gibbs has a snowmobile trailer for sale. And if you're in or near the Hanover, New Hampshire area, this sled is worth a look. I'm going to play a quick video that I made for him. And then on the other side, we'll close out the program. Let's take a look. Cool. So if that trailer jumped out at you, give Jeff a call and he'll be happy to help you out with that. We've got another comment that's come in. David from Alaska Railroad says, good show, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, David, for watching and being a part of this every week, both with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast and the Muscle Car Podcast. We very much appreciate it. And if you're hearing about Muscle Car Podcast, what's up with that? There's a link in the description where you can view past episodes, and wherever you find that, that's where you'll find us every Wednesday night for new episodes. So yeah, it's time to close out the program. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Great show, Mike.
No, I appreciate it. And again, it was nice to finally meet you there in person. And then again, I can be a resource for others in the Arctic Cat side of things. Again, I'm no expert, but I've learned the hard way on parts and whatnot. What not to do and whatnot. Trial and error. But again, it's a small community, but yet it's a big community. There's a lot of people out there. Social media has made it very easy. Probably back in the day of getting a phone number and putting something in the mail with a postcard and waiting 3 weeks to see if someone has a part. Now you can message them and it's kind of instant.
So much more immediate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully someone who's endeavoring in this kind of a project will stumble onto this and use this podcast episode as a resource for their project.
Yeah. Again,
like you said, hopefully they'll reach out to you and yeah.
Then I'll do my best to help them. And if I don't have the answer, I pretty much know the person that does. So
cool deal. All right. With that, we wrap up another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on, and to the viewers who've been with us throughout this whole podcast. Hope you had a great time. Join us here next week, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And as always, we give the last word to our friends at AMSOIL. Hello, everyone. This is Rob and Mike. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Mike, yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Now, today, we're going to be talking about AMSOIL. And in a few moments, we're going to show you how you can get the deepest discounts, free shipping, and free gifts when you order your AMSOIL products through us. But first, I'm going to ask Rob to give you a quick description of what AMSOIL is and why you should consider using AMSOIL products in your motorized vehicles.
Thanks, Mike. AMSOIL is 100% synthetic oil. Everybody uses AMSOIL for a different reason. Some people like the benefits that AMSOIL is warranted for 25,000 miles or 1 year. The reason we can do that is because AMSOIL doesn't oxidize. It doesn't form the usual carbons, gums, sludges like petroleum oils do. That's why we can keep it in the engines longer. Petroleum oils never do wear out. They oxidize themselves. That's why they have to be changed at 3,000 kilometers. And AMSOIL likes the benefit that you only have to change the oil once a year. That saves some money. Some of the people like the benefit of AMSOIL is it's a slipperier type lube. By having a slipperier type lube, it cuts down friction drag. By less friction and drag, engines run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, better gas mileage. Now, AMSOIL says 25% more protection than the industry requires is in the AMSOIL bottles. My average customer gets about 10% increase in gas mileage. That's a big savings.
Yeah.
And by cutting down friction and drag, for every 10 degrees you cut down the friction and drag, doubles the life of the engine. So by having the engine run cooler, it makes it last longer. Some people like the benefit of the range of the AMSOIL. AMSOIL's flash point is 425 degrees, and it pours at 50 below zero. Wow. If you ever tried petroleum oil when it's 10 below, it turns to honey. And in the summertime, petroleum oil thins out, and once it thins out, that's when it starts breaking down. So AMSOIL's an all-season oil, can give you better gas mileage, longer engine life, less maintenance. It ends up being cheaper over a year's time running AMSOIL than it is petroleum oils.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And AMSOIL is available for pretty much any motorized vehicle, anything from lawn equipment, cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles.
Yep. And a lot of people phone me up and say, well, what's the benefit of our gear lube? Exactly what I told you about the engine oil. It pours in cold weather, it runs cooler, makes the equipment last longer. And they say, well, what's the benefit of the small engine? Same thing. Makes the engine run cooler, last longer, better performance. So it saves on all the applications that AMSOIL has available.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's talk now. Hopefully this has convinced people to think about maybe joining us in the AMSOIL experience. Let's talk about some of the discounts and free shipping and how that all happens. I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen. And yeah, by all means, if you want to talk people through how this preferred customer program works.
AMSOIL has a number of different programs. One of our main ones is a catalog customer, where somebody can order directly out of our catalog. If they order out of the catalog, they order $100 worth, AMSOIL will ship it right to their house. But our best program is our preferred customer. For only $10 for 6 months, you become a preferred customer, you save 25% on all the product. You order $100 worth, they're going to give you free shipping. You don't have to order a whole case. You can mix and match. Say you want 4 bottles of small engine, 7 bottles of 5W30, and a couple of gear loops. You can mix and match. You can order 1 bottle at a time if you want. There's no minimums, no maximums. By being a preferred customer, you save over 25% on all the products you're going to buy. AMSOIL sends you extra gifts, a $5 gift certificate on your birthday, $5 when you renew your account, and stuff like that. So it's a good way to save on some of the products you want to buy.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's an incredible value. And this is the deepest level of discount that anyone can get when ordering AMSOIL. Is that correct?
It is. It is.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's take people through the step-by-step experience of placing an AMSOIL order. Then that would include signing up for the preferred customer discount, preferred customer program, so they can receive those deepest levels of discount. So let's go to the website. This is what the website's going to look like. These are some screenshots. Once you go to amsoil.com, there's a link in the description, or you can just type that into a browser, amsoil.com. This is the page you land on. At the upper corner of the page there, you see how I've circled in red. That is the link to click, the Join Now link. That will take you to the preferred customer program page, where you can take advantage of all these discounts and free shipping and everything that we've just been talking about. This is what that page looks like. In the lower right, you're going to click Join Now. This will pop up. You select the duration you'd like, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and click Add to Cart. Now, once this pop-up goes away, you'll be back on the main page. And the upper left, you'll see where I've got that red arrow. It says Shop. Now you can start shopping for products, and on your very first order, you're going to get these discounts and the free shipping as long as it's over $100. You'll get all of these benefits right away. So once you click Shop, it's going to take you to the product page. There's different types of oils, lubricants, so on and so forth. For the benefit of this exercise we're doing now, I'm just going to click motor oil. It shows different types of motor oil. Let's click gasoline. Now this takes us to an item. It's their synthetic motor oil. And you can see the item there, and there's choices for different viscosities. But take a look at the price. Let's take a closer look. Let's zoom in. But if you've join the preferred customer program first, you're going to automatically get the deepest levels of discount. That's what we're looking at here. You're saving $3.80 on that quart of oil. Instead of paying $16.29, you're now paying $12.49 for that quart of oil. That is the deepest level of discount you can possibly get. And then you just add the quantity that you'd like. You select any other items that you're thinking about, add them to the cart. And once you click add to cart for the final time, you're going to see this come up at the top of the screen. It's going to show your items and your the total that you're at so far. Pardon me. And then you just click view cart in the upper right, and that'll take you to your cart. Take a close look here at the upper right. That blue box shows that you're getting free shipping. You're eligible for free shipping on this order because it's over $100. That little yellow box shows that you've got the preferred customer membership on your order that gives you the deepest levels of discounts for the next 6 to 12 months. And then below that, you've got the items that have been selected. For the exercise here, I selected 9 quarts of the signature series, but that brings us up over $100 for the free shipping. We're saving $34.20. And if you're ready to finish, you click checkout now, and that takes you to this screen here. If you haven't signed up with an AMSOIL account at this point, just click in the lower right to create an account, create a new account. It's going to ask you for some basic information, name, and those types of things. Now let's take a closer look. You'll see this gray shaded box. This is a very important box. This is going to ask you if someone has referred you to AMSOIL. And if so, please enter my name. My name is Mike LaPierre. It's spelled right there on the screen for the correct spelling. And also the referral number, 304-555-94. That's how you make sure that Rob and I get credit for this. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have signed up for AMSOIL under Rob. So when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. So if you enjoy these podcasts that we're doing, this is a wonderful way to support the podcast, because when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. And the commissions I make go directly toward offsetting the cost of doing these podcasts. So I thank you in advance for that, for using my referral number. I very much appreciate it. And once you've done that, you just go into the next screen to enter your payment information, and you're done. Now, once you've placed your order that's over $100, and that order includes your AMSOIL preferred customer program, you are now eligible to get a free DVD from myself. Now, this is going to be either a muscle car DVD or a vintage snowmobile DVD. Use the email address on the screen, wkspodcasts@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know which DVD you would like me to send you, the muscle car or the vintage snowmobile DVD, and I'll get that right out to you. As you're typing in that email, in the subject line, be sure and type in capital letters free DVD requests, so it stands out as I'm checking my email, and we'll get that right out to you. So I guess the last thing, Rob, that we wanted to talk about is if someone is considering AMSOIL as a business opportunity.
Yes. If anybody has a retail or a commercial account and they would like to buy directly from AMSOIL, just send Mike a line. He'll show you how to set up, and you can buy directly from AMSOIL. But if you are interested in starting your own part-time business, a part-time business that can grow into a full-time income, Mike and I will show you the AMSOIL marketing plan. AMSOIL has a large selection of products that cover almost every application. So it doesn't matter if you're into snowmobile, boating, or ATVing, or hot rods. We have an oil for every application. It's a fun type business that's I really enjoy doing. Where else can I go and have fun and make money doing it? And Mike and I are here to help you all the way along. If you need any help on how to promote or to find new accounts, we're here to help you.
For sure. So when you sign up under that number, this 304-555-94, you're getting Rob and I as a team. Now, Rob has been doing AMSOIL for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. So he knows every aspect of this business, and he knows all of the ins and outs of the products. So he'll be able to help you with any kind of product questions or any kind of questions to show you the different business models that you can do with AMSOIL. And then the other thing that you get when you sign up under me is I've got a strong background in social media. So if you need some coaching on how to generate AMSOIL leads using Facebook and YouTube, I'm happy to coach you with that when you sign up under Rob and I. You get both of us as a team to help you, to coach you, to support you, whatever you need to get you off and running with this business and having fun with it. Like Rob said, it's an enormous amount of fun. If you're like Rob and I and you enjoy going to any kind of boat shows, car shows, motorcycle shows, snowmobile shows, anything with a motor, you like going to those shows, those events, those races, this is a great way to turn that into a income opportunity for you.
Yes. And just by wearing my AMSOIL hat at one of these events, people come up and ask me about AMSOIL. People don't know where to buy it, and I'm there to help them, show them where they can buy the products.
Perfect. Well, cool. Well, this is great. Any final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap it up?
AMSOIL's a fun business. AMSOIL's been around since 1968. It was the first synthetic oil to be AI approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's very early in the game too, isn't it?
Yes.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. Hopefully, we've gotten you excited as we are about the AMSOIL products. We'd love it if you could join us either as someone who uses the AMSOIL products or to join the AMSOIL team as a business opportunity. And we thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day.
You have a good day.